Hey there, gamers! Today, I've got an awesome lineup of single-player games that are sure to pull you in. I tried to focus on mostly new titles, but we'll also touch on some older ones, as long as they've had some solid updates or extra content. So, it's going to be interesting. Hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and let's get started. The Alters. Another survival game, where we play as John Dolsky, this time just an ordinary guy who ends up the last one standing after an emergency landing on a planet that clearly isn't welcoming. To survive longer, we need to turn a mobile base into a working home on wheels and gather a crew for it, or survival will come to a quick end. The main hook of the game is in Rapidia. This material helps us grow alternative versions of John, all the different alters. Each alter comes from a specific fork in the hero's past, from a decision that could have gone differently. The base has a quantum computer that calculates various outcomes and shows how John's life could have unfolded. Then, these options literally join our crew, bringing their own skills, personalities, and inner conflicts. And it's not just efficiency bonuses. The alters come with personal issues and complicated relationships, so we have to keep an eye on team dynamics just as closely as we do on resources during outings. To manage the mobile base, we need to explore the planet's surface and look for those resources. But stepping outside the safe haven puts you and your alters at risk of various deadly anomalies and constant solar radiation. So it's important to pay attention to the day and night cycle, and plan your daily actions wisely. In short, it's a well thought out, beautiful, and genuinely interesting game. Still wakes the deep. So you're basically a roughneck. Well, not the best kind of roughneck. 1975 North Sea. The oil rig, Baird. Our main character, Cameron McCleary, also known as Kaz, works there as an electrician. He's not an oil worker at all. Just a few days ago, he got into a brawl at a bar. By the way, he really messed that guy up, and now the cops are looking for him. So this rig, located way out in the middle of nowhere, is a perfect hideout. The police seem to be closing in on us, but not at the best time. While drilling, the station awakens something terrifying, and now the mission for all the oil workers is simple: just survive. That's what we'll be doing. Gameplay-wise, it's more like a movie with elements of walking, running, swimming, climbing, and crawling. Our hero has no weapons, can't kill enemies, so all we can do is run, crawl, and swim away, while also distracting enemies with various items we find while exploring the oil rig. In short, the game is more about the experience. An unusual experience, a unique setting, threats, and everything else. It nails that aspect, but don't expect a ton of action. It's more about the atmosphere. Cronos, The New Dawn. A fresh, purebred entry in the survival horror genre with an incredibly thick atmosphere. You'll encounter a somewhat clumsy main character, limited field of view, restricted inventory, a constant shortage of ammo, and confusing, dark locations that will have you running in circles. If you've played Dead Space, Resident Evil, or Silent Hill, you'll easily spot the inspiration behind Cronos. The game's setting is a mix of futuristic tech, post-apocalypse vibes, sudden Soviet aesthetics, and body horror elements. The world is in ruins, with anomalies ripping through space and time, while an unknown virus has turned humanity into grotesque mutants. As a traveler, kind of a time traveler, we're searching for temporal rifts and, by diving into the past, extracting the consciousness of certain people for some collective. The plot, in short, is a bit convoluted. Basically, aside from the fact that stories based on time travel and time loops are always tangled, there's also this technique used in the narrative: an unreliable narrator. Each character has their own perspective on what's happening, sometimes contradicting each other, leaving things unsaid or getting it wrong, which makes the picture of events not entirely accurate, and the time travel and loops just add to the confusion. Overall, it's a game that's both immersive and thought-provoking, which is nice, and it's visually stunning. Hats off to the creators. The Last Caretaker. This game is unique in its own way, kind of like a survival game, where you play as a robot caretaker, and that really changes the usual survival mechanics. Instead of food and water, you need to keep an eye on your battery charge, plus maintain the functionality and defense of your shelter, laser complex, and your ship. The world is swallowed by an ocean, and the rusting megastructures under the vast sky create a pretty decaying yet mesmerizing vibe. The story is delivered not through cutscenes, but through details and hints. Every note you find, every damaged artifact or rusty tool is a piece of the story you need to piece together. The crafting system is well thought out and modular, and physics plays a key role, especially in building and solving puzzles. It's important not just to gather, but also to connect components correctly, like using electrical cables to restore systems. And yes, you need to explore the world too. There are all sorts of secrets and stuff. In short, it's a hidden gem from the last couple of months. Choice of the End. You play as Rin, a powerful heir who can cast all sorts of spells. At one point, Rin's brother gets kidnapped, and she sets off to find him, taking along a guy named Abram, an explorer. The gameplay, built on the 5th Unreal Engine, can be divided into 3 parts: puzzles, battles, and parkour, though I'd call it more like platforming puzzles. There's also some treasure hunting, but that's more of a side activity. Each level and location offers something new. The game really tries to keep things fresh on screen, and it mostly pulls it off. The combat lacks depth, it's just there, and that's enough. But at its core, there's a decent story and the beauty of Iceland, which inspired the developers. Basically, it's like Hellblade, but without the mental health issues for the heroine, and the puzzles aren't as tedious. It's a solid adventure for a couple of evenings that can definitely entertain. Hogwarts Legacy. The perfect game to dive into during the winter holidays, especially after watching the Harry Potter movies. Since its release, they've added a bit more to the game, although they still haven't included full Quidditch. Maybe they'll save that for the next installment, which is already in the works. But don't worry, there's still a huge, familiar universe waiting for you. Tons of secrets, collectibles, quests, and magical duels with wands. You'll gradually learn a whole range of familiar spells, plus a solid storyline that really digs deeper into this universe. Overall, as a holiday game, it's an amazing experience. By the way, it was recently given away for free on Epic Games. Sins of a Solar Empire 2. The continuation of a solid space strategy where real-time battles go hand in hand with 4X management of the Empire. We act as both ruler and commander. We choose one of 6 factions, develop it, wage wars, and play various diplomatic games to survive the threat of extinction and lead our people to greatness. Among the cool features, besides ships, economy, empires, and all that stuff you find in any space game, there's a new mechanic of moving planets. As we know from astronomy, planets orbit stars, and this game has made that a reality. Seriously, planets don't just move around, they actually pull and change their phase paths. There's a future view function letting you see how the whole system will be restructured in an hour of game time. So now, it's not just about carefully planning defense, but also keeping an eye on and moving structures along the orbits of planets. That's pretty cool. Overall, if we're judging it as a whole, this is an extremely well-crafted strategy game with epic space battles and a strong depth in its economic development. Tainted Grail? The Fall of Avalon. About a week ago, a major new DLC dropped, bringing us a huge new underwater location and almost 15 hours of extra content. Personally, it instantly convinced me to fly back to Avalon and test out another build. By the way, this DLC also added 3 new talent trees, around 100 gear items, and a ton of other stuff. For those who aren't familiar with Avalon, it's kinda like a mix of Souls and Skyrim. An open world made up of now 4 large locations, tons of quests, secrets, a solid storyline, and incredible music with this heavy atmosphere of a dying world. The game is honestly amazing, and probably one of the best games I love to replay. What's funny is that each replay constantly reveals new hidden secrets I missed when I first ran through the game. It's a masterpiece, really. What more can I say? Rise of the Ronin. As you can see, the situation is slowly improving because most of the issues were tied to the terrible optimization, which has been somewhat fixed, but honestly not completely. Of course, if you're playing Rise of the Ronin, it's mainly for the combat system. It's been a while since I've enjoyed battles and action games this much. Fast-paced, skillful, and colorful. At the core of the combat system are the familiar stances from Naya, but in this game, they come from different schools, each with its own moveset, special attacks, and finishers. But besides the fights, there are other things to praise about the game. It's got a decent open world where there's plenty to do, and a storyline that's actually present, unlike some games where you have to spend hours on YouTube just to dig deeper into the plot. Graphically, everything looks fine too. The only downside is that the environment feels a bit sparse, but that's really a matter of taste. Overall, it's a pretty solid Japanese project, like Sake, just without the buzz since it's not that strong. Monster Hunter Wilds. Not perfect, but still a solid Monster Hunter that's about to celebrate its first birthday since release. Wilds is a great entry point for newcomers, as the game has actually become easier than World. They changed a lot for convenience, and the difficulty of the story battles has noticeably dropped. Character editors have been improved, and now people are creating some truly amazing characters and cats. The combat hasn't changed much overall, but they refined it, getting rid of the hook while adding a focus mode, allowing you to aim at enemies without moving your character, but rather targeting the attack itself. The story isn't exactly a masterpiece or anything, but it's still enjoyable to follow along. Mostly, of course, thanks to the characters. Plus, the game has become more expansive. First off, there's an open world now. Secondly, the hub isn't just some small room, but a whole village, complete with amazing background music. You'll often run into other players throughout the game, especially in the hub, but you can definitely play through it solo, taking on the role of a lone hunter. Teardown. A fully destructible and interactive world where player freedom and unpredictability in gameplay are the main driving forces. In the story, our company racks up a massive debt, and we start taking jobs from shady clients. It quickly becomes clear that this is our ticket into a dark tale of revenge, betrayal, and dirty insurance schemes. At first, the job seems almost legit, but before we know it, we're stealing cars, demolishing buildings, blowing open safes, and running from aggressive robots that are not friendly at all. As we progress through the levels, we explore different locations searching for hidden treasures. It's our way of expanding our arsenal and unlocking new tools for the job. The more we find, the more options we have to tackle the challenges ahead. The physics are fantastic, and the gameplay is pretty fun overall. It's basically a sandbox experience. Anno 117, Pax Romana. A worthy successor to the series, bringing the action of a strategy game to the realities of 1700, with a Roman setting. Here, you build a Roman democracy on a small island, gradually colonizing neighboring territories, providing the plebs with bread, entertainment, and sandals. Naturally, it's important to keep the Roman Empire in mind, as that's the foundation. Compared to Anno 1800, one of the best in the series, the game has simplified a bit. There are fewer issues due to imperfect mechanics, but on the flip side, there's a tech tree, beliefs, and overall there are more mechanics to explore. In short, it feels closer to a civilization that a healthy person would enjoy, which is definitely a good thing. Way of the Hunter. As folks in the comments say, this game is really similar to World of Tanks. The only difference is that here no one's going to give you a hard time for hiding in the bushes and waiting for your prey. But seriously, this is one of the best hunting simulators that can totally immerse you in the vibe of real hunting. The main highlight of the game is the realistically designed animals and game mechanics, which make everything on screen feel alive and believable. The graphics are stunning, Unreal Engine really delivers, and while most of the talk is about nature, the shooting mechanics are solid too. You've got ballistics, and you can take down an animal from even 1.5 kilometers away. But if you miss, well, good luck hitting it from that distance again. That animal's going to run off pretty far, and tracking it down again is only possible if you have a contract with a psychic battle show. Overall, it's a really great experience, and it's pretty friendly for newcomers too. Metaphor, ReFantazio, a bright and engaging JRPG from the team that previously made Persona. The game takes familiar ideas into a completely new fantasy kingdom, where political intrigue, adventures, and a fight for the crown await you. Yes, the king literally dies in the prologue, and now you and the workers are trying to take his place. Of course, there are other contenders too. The world looks stylish and unique, with great visuals, awesome music, and plenty of interesting characters. The combat mixes dynamics and tactics, allowing you to switch hero archetypes and try out different strategies, which makes battles pretty flexible. Honestly, there's not much more to say here. If you've played Persona, you'll get pretty much the same vibes here. Songs of Silence. A mix of 4X strategy, auto-battler, and a colorful deck builder, although it's more like a combo of heroes and an auto-battler. The development of settlements compared to heroes is a bit basic, but it doesn't take up too much time, letting you focus on other gameplay aspects, which might be a downside for some, and a plus for others. The devs really put effort into the lore and setting, and they're trying to flesh it out properly, which is pretty cool. It plays fresh and very much like Legendary Creatures 2, with the only difference being that there's a full campaign here. And let me tell you, the campaign is fantastic. One of the best among strategies in recent years, so if you somehow miss this gem, you need to catch up. Just be careful. They haven't fixed all the bugs yet, which does put a bit of a damper on things. That's it for now. I hope you found something interesting, so make sure to hit that like button and subscribe too. Just a reminder about the social media, as always, the link is in the description. Catch you in the next video.